Well, welcome to this week's edition of Sales Club, sponsored by 3D Pro Services and the American Business Club. Hi, I'm Wayne Dean. I'm your host for the weekly club sessions that we have every Thursday at 2 o'clock Mountain Time and 3 o'clock Central. We do these. I have over 68 different presentations, so we can go over a full year without duplicating the different messages that we have. So if you're not able to be watching me live right now, I do post these at my YouTube channel. And again, that's just my YouTube channel is my name. Go to youtube.com/Wayne Dean. And we have a whole series of these for our club members. So ACA members can have access to our monthly sessions that we do. And then I do 3 other sessions each month on Thursdays that my clients can participate in. So let me get right to it right away. Today's session is on Bootstrap prospecting. So there's only a couple of ways that you and your company can make or keep money. And if you think about it, cut expenses, which none of us as salespeople really like, increase the margins, make the larger cost versus the profit for margins, or increase sales. And that's typically what we as salespeople get charged with, is your job is to increase sales. So if you think about it, only 3 ways to sell more though: more prospecting, more appointments, and then more closes. So I've been a sales trainer since like 1992 when I first got into sales. And I'm telling you, the number one question I've had over those years, as opposed to being, can I teach anybody to be a salesperson, or do you have to be naturally born? But salespeople come up to me and say, "What's your secret? How do you close?" And I remember thinking, if I really knew the secret that was like a or one sentence answer, why would I give it away to somebody? Closing is all about being in a position. It's almost like luck is opportunity meeting preparedness. It's just, are you in the right place at the right time? And have you done the work first? Are you in a closing opportunity? A lot of salespeople that get frustrated with not being able to close is because they never were in the right opportunity to begin with. But today's session is more about prospecting. We'll dig into other sessions on closing and presentations. But really, if you think about a salesperson, we work at 3 different roles. We are the director of marketing, especially if you're a self-employed insurance salesman, financial planner. You are your own director of marketing. You are your appointment setter, and you are your salesperson as the close. We wear a lot of different hats. The most important hat that we wear is prospecting, because without appointments, you're out of business, and we can't make appointments unless we have enough leads to work with. So to increase sales, we really have to close more deals. Close more deals, we need to have more closing opportunities, or we need to increase our closing percentage. But again, to have more opportunities to close, we need to have more activities. You need to have increased activity as far as a prospecting plan. And again, prospecting is a process which you use to identify potential clients and to set appointments if appropriate. And what I mean by that is there's a difference between prospects and suspects. And if you've been in sales any length of time, you know that what we're trying to do first is determine, is this person or prospect really somebody that has a need for my product and can afford it? And many people have heard that phrase that, well, you just need to get up to bat more often. You got to go see more people. I agree with that, so that you can get into the beginning, you can get practicing overcoming objections, even on an appointment setting. But after a while, it should be the point where you've changed your entire paradigm shift from, do you qualify to be their vendor, or do they qualify to be your customer? And that's the mode that I'd like you to get into. But if you're doing enough prospecting, then you could weed that out and figure out that some people just don't have a need, or even if they have a need, they might not be able to afford your product. So at the beginning, what you're trying to do, those of you who are watching this and you're new to sales, it is a numbers game. I apologize, but one has to get out there and see as many people. And I always like to tell a lot of my trained people that the one thing you want to do is go ahead and set the appointment. Then you can qualify it. I mean, if the person's willing to meet with you Thursday at 10 o'clock, set the appointment. And then you can say to them, hey, Wayne, I've just had a couple of questions before I come see you next Thursday. Do you mind if I ask you some questions to see if there's a fit? And you can start asking questions to see if there's a fit. Then you can determine, well, based on what I've told me so far, sounds like this might not be the most opportune time for us to have a conversation. Why don't we wait a few more weeks until you do some more shopping, whatever it is you have to do? You can always qualify somebody later. What too many salespeople do is they qualify first and disqualify somebody and don't get the appointment. Get the appointment and then qualify people. So you don't have to like prospecting, you just have to do it. And I highly recommend, as I've gone through Sandler training myself as a student for years and then as a Sandler trainer, I highly recommend Dave Sandler's book, You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bicycle at a Seminar. You don't have to like prospecting, you just have to do it. So there sometimes are issues as far as asking for referrals. Number one, most people tell me they get most of their business from referrals. And it's difficult when you just are starting out in business and sales and you don't have anybody to get referrals. But most people that are in business for a while, they have a specific referral program. And what I mean by that is, do you ask for referrals? I mean, the goal is, do you have a goal and then follow it by specific plan of action? Lou Holtz, the former football coach, he basically said that goals are of no value unless they're followed by a specific plan of action. And what I mean by that, salespeople set goals all the time. Well, boy, I'm going to go out and get 10 appointments this week. Yeah, but what's the action plan that you have to get to that situation? So I want you to start with, we're almost coming to the end of this year, starting the last quarter. I want you to think about a birdcage goal for 2025. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say you put one of those big standing birds cages in your home, those, those 5 foot ones, but it was just empty. And the thing is, for the next month, as anybody comes over to your house and they ask you about that, hey, what's the bird cage for? Oh, I'd like to get a bird someday. And as long, and that's all you have to say. Eventually what'll happen is enough people come by and say, hey, that bird cage is empty, that bird cage is empty. They'll help you fill it. They'll say, well, here's a pet store where you might want to go, and you'll fill the bird cage. And here's what I'm a goal for me when I first saw this through my own Sandler training as a student. I was building a house in 1996, it was. And I really wanted to, we've moved from Chicago area to outside of Milwaukee, be near lakes, because I really like boating and fishing. And I wanted a new boat. And what I ended up doing when I was building the house, I built the garage, the third car garage, to the specific specifications of the boat I wanted so it could fit in there. I mean, it's 22 feet long with a swing away trailer. It was going to be so wide, had a door that was at least 9 feet so the boat could get through at the beam. So as I built the house and my wife understood why we built that third car garage, after building a house and moving in for a while, my wife kept saying things like, well, where are you going to get a boat? I thought you were going to get a boat. And friends were coming up to me at the same time. Hey, I saw this boat for sale. I saw this boat online. And people were helping me fill my bird cage. So get for yourself some type of a bird cage goal. And it might be something like this, like I'm going to have 4 closes a week. But to be able to do that, I know I've got to see 10 people a week. To be able to see 10 people, and I'm looking at their bills or whatever I have to review for financial plan, whatever, I need to have 15 scheduled appointments to be able to actually go see 10 people to close 4. And a 40% closing ratio could be pretty good. Those other 6 people might have lied about their capabilities of buying. But again, if you're setting your goal for like saying 10 to close 4, that's pretty realistic. But again, what's most important is I understand there's going to be some busies, some reschedules, some no shows. So go ahead and sit there and say, my goal is I have to have 15 scheduled appointments to see 10 to close 4. But to be able to do that, I have to be able to have 25 people that I approach and have, or have at least have a conversation with about, hey, would it make sense for you to send me a copy of your bill so I can analyze and see if it makes sense for my product or service? But then you have to actually approach 50 people. And I mean approach, whether it be face to face, whether it be on the phone, having conversations. I mean, when I say approach, I'm actually talking to 50 people that you can determine whether you even want to ask them whether it makes sense to have a meeting. Well, to be able to ask 50 people every single week, you need to have at least 75 in your pipeline. And if you've been watching some of my other videos, I talk about all leads would be 3D. And let me review that for those of you listening. Every one of my leads is pre-selected, preconditioned, and preheated. It's 3D. What I mean by that is they're pre-selected. I'm approaching people that I believe could use my product or service. They're preconditioned. Every lead gets something from me, either snail mail, email, a handbill, something. Everybody gets something from me in advance so that by the time I approach them, they've already heard something about me. So pre-selected, preconditioned, and preheated. Every one of my leads has been told they get a letter from me or an email that says I typically make my phone calls Thursday morning at 7:30. I'll try and reach out to you Thursday at 7:30. If that's too early, let me know. You'd be shocked how many people email back and say, don't call me 7:30 on Thursday. I'm not in the office until 9. Last week I had a guy says, I'm on a flight. I don't get off the flight until after 11. But everybody knows they're calling. I don't believe there should be any real cold calling anymore because with the internet, with the capabilities we have through different sources, every one of your leads should be 3D. And think of a lead as a blind date. What I mean by that, if it's a date, just like if I gave you a name of some lady or some guy that might be interested in dating, you still have to make the purpose. They might be interested, but you still need to make the phone call. You still need to make the date, and then you have to deliver on the date to get another one. So my thought process is every one of my leads is a blind date. They might be interested, but I still have to turn that interest into an appointment. Now, when I talk about bootstrap prospecting, one of the things that I did when I first got into sales in 1992, I read a book that changed everything for me. It's called Guerrilla Marketing. There's a series of them: guerrilla sales, guerrilla marketing, guerrilla management. But it talks about ways to go out and prospect without money. And the number one is networking. Do you religiously go on networking? Do you go online, LinkedIn, and look at networking events or just things that are coming up? Do you go to meetup.com? Do you go to alignable.com? Those are three great sources: LinkedIn, Meetup, and alignable.com, where you can find networking events that are going on for free that you should be attending. And I religiously have gone to 2 networking events every single week for years, whether I think I need it or not. Because when you go to a networking event, remember, it's kind of like in Wisconsin, those of you from that area, there was a car salesman, Ernie von Slaghorn, who his advertisements were always, who do you know needs to buy a car? His whole marketing strategy was not necessarily to sell you, but did you know anybody that might need a car? And the same thought process should be in your mind for networking as when you go to a networking event, it might not be that person or somebody at the networking event, but who do they know could use your product or service? And that's the way you should approach somebody. When somebody says, so what do you do? I'm a financial planner, probably nothing you need. Not sure if you know anybody that you think I should have a conversation with. And always do it almost 1 degree of separation so it doesn't sound like you're trying to push somebody. So networking is a number one bootstrapping prospect. The 3 foot rule. 3 foot rule is you get within 3 foot of somebody, they should get your business card. Free talks. The Lions clubs, the Rotary clubs, Moose Lodge, Serotonin, there's all these different business clubs out there who are begging for speakers. What I mean by that, they're tired of the same guys from the club who sold insurance or windows or siding, and they like to have something of interest outside. So develop about a 30-minute free talk, not necessarily push your product or service, but something educational for people. If you sell solar, then get into a little bit more of a conversation about what's going on. How much right now is solar? How much is wind? How much is and make it more of an educational piece. Remember, your free talk should not necessarily be about selling your product or service, but to entice somebody to come up to you and afterwards and say, hey, tell me more. The no pressure cold call script. Remember that no pressure script sounds like this. When you've emailed somebody, remember they're 3D, everybody's got something from me, and I make the phone call. The no pressure script is, hey, it's Wayne Dean. I'm not sure that rings a bell. And we'll go into that in a couple more slides, but the no pressure script should be part of your prospecting wheel of fortune. I should go backwards and sit there and say what I mean about this wheel of fortune. A wheel is only as strong as the number of spokes. If you look at this as a bicycle wheel, and if that wheel only has 1 spoke, it's going to collapse. So how many spokes do you have on a consistent basis in your prospecting efforts? Do you call previous clients and just say, hey, appreciate you buying from me 6 months ago. Just wanted to see how things are going. Have you thought of any other people that I might have a conversation with? And the reason I put referrals twice is because you can't ask for referrals unless you give them. And what I mean by that is it's really hard just to call somebody, hey, can you refer somebody to me? But if you call somebody and say, hey, I was thinking that I ran into this guy at this networking event who could use your product or service. Would you like me to connect you two together? You'd be surprised if you consistently give out 3 referrals a week, how many more you'll give. Because remember, if you're referring to me, somebody, I'm probably going to find 3 referrals for you. Now, if you did that 3 other people, that's 9 referrals you got this week. And then trade shows. Matter of fact, I'm leaving right after this to go to the Fort Collins Chamber of Commerce trade show. The trade show is I've got a little golf putter where people get to putt, and if they do, they get a free hour here in our club for if they get a hole in the. And then we're doing a lot of different activities. But trade shows, whether you either put a booth on or you just make sure you go to trade shows to walk around and start collecting is really important. And one of the things I suggest you do at a trade show is hang around where the cocktail tables are, the higher cocktail tables are, put your business cards, lay them out there. And then if somebody else comes up that sets their drink down, they'll use it. Can I sit here? Of course you can. But your business card's already out and let them pick that up. And they go, oh, I wonder who this guy, oh, that's me. And if you're wearing a name tag, get a professional name tag so that you're out there presenting yourself in a professional method. So this is what I talk about the prospecting bootstrap wise, where you're not spending a lot of money. Number one, I didn't put on here, but it falls under the 3-foot rule: business cards. I bet every one of you's got a stack of business cards somewhere. Where are they? I bet you they're in the right or left hand top drawer in a box already. They are doing you no good there. Business cards are the cheapest form of advertising as you can do. Go and carry those business cards with you and have a goal. I'm going to go get rid of 50 business cards this week. And I don't care if you're putting on every bulletin board, you're putting on somebody's windshield, their car. I would go on Sunday afternoons when I know most stores were closed, and I'd go to the back of a strip mall with a roll of Scotch tape and my business card, and I'd tape my business card to the back of every one of those doors, knowing that on Monday morning, the first person typically coming in that small business to open it up was the owner, typically on a Monday morning. And so I knew that it would probably get in that owner's hands. Then what happens is I'd come back and I'd go in the front door later on. And then, hey, I'm Wayne Dean. I taped my business card to the back. I just wondered if it's of interest to you. Just a simple thing to do consistently every Sunday afternoon. That's what I would do on my goal sheets. The way I work is Sunday from 4 o'clock on, after the football games are over. Usually, if I was up at the lake house, we're home by 4. But 4 o'clock was when I did prospecting, the no pressure type of prospecting. So start doing something to get rid of those business cards. If you read the book Guerrilla Marketing, one of the things you find, the guy that in San Diego, #1 car salesman in the world, he would go to the Padres games and take a stack of business cards. And when something big would happen, a home run, something, a score run, he would take a stack of business cards and go, yay, and throw them up like confetti and let them float down. There's always somebody going to pick them up. And if you think about it, he throws out 50 business cards. I guarantee you there's one person that was thinking, I need a new car. And now they've got that business card. And I do that when I go to different games and throw on. And every once in a while, I'll get a call, hey, stop throwing these things out. And I'll stop doing it for a while, when they call me. But really, they've got so much garbage they're picking up anyway. That's not that big of a deal. But are you consistently giving out your business cards? It's the cheapest form of advertising. But most people order 250, 500 business cards, and it'll last them a year. You only give them out to a client or somebody that you sell. You should be giving out business cards to everybody. It's a great system for bootstrap prospecting. And again, a prospecting plan includes a budget of estimated amount to expend. Now, most people think of budget, they think money, but how much time are you going to spend prospecting? Actually scheduling when you're going to do your cold calls, when you're going to make your appointments, when you're going to go to networking, how you're going to maybe develop strategic alliances, who you should be partnering with. Are you putting on your own seminars right now, a podcast or whatever? In the beginning, you do any type of podcast or these type of trainings that I do, and it takes a while to build some momentum. So go ahead and record them so that you can even send them to somebody. If you don't have your own YouTube channel, you should. You should be posting your own videos so that you can send them even to a client that's of interest and just say, hey, well, go watch this video about what it is that I'm doing. Couple of things that you need to look at are different ways of like GMAS, excuse me, pardon me. GMAS, GMASS through Google is a mailing service that you can do 50 a day automatically, and it emails people. Excuse me, I'm getting sneezy. It emails people your information. So again, GMAS is a really good source that you can go and do mailings to people. And the idea with GMAS is it automatically sends individual emails, so it doesn't look like a mass mail that goes into people's spam or junk folder. So you should consider doing that. And pull up the PowerPoint again. So again, develop a prospecting plan, cold calls, networking, referrals, introductions, something that is a systematic approach to what it is that you should be doing out there prospecting wise. And I want you to think about it this way. Will you and can you do the necessary activities to make this goal a either active or passionate goal? Now think about it this way. An active goal is one that you can do and will do the necessary behaviors to make it a realistic goal. The passive goal is one you won't. So if you're not going to go to networking, put it over in the passive. If you will ask for referrals, then it's an active. Will you do free talks? Will you do seminars? Don't put a goal that you're not going to do. And what I mean is some people just don't like networking events. I would rather network than sit on the phone. I'd rather go to a 2 hour networking event than 2 hours of cold calling. I think that I can achieve more. But some people don't think of it that way. So only put it down as an active goal if you're actually going to do it. Can I and will I do the necessary behaviors to make it an active? An active goal is goal oriented. It's attainable. It promotes action. It's reality based. A passive goal, though, is chance oriented. I might get to it if I have time. It's whimsical. It's like, it's a goal that maybe you'll never really accomplish. And it promotes inactivity, but it might be even fantasy based. Well, I hope someday I win the lottery. That's your financial goal is to win the lottery. So rank them again as whether active or passive. All right. And if you remember, I'm going to kind of end the slide is, what are you prepared to do? And where that came from is if you remember the movie The Untouchables with Kevin Costner playing Elliot Ness, Sean Connery playing the one honest Chicago cop that Elliot Ness was trying to recruit. Help me get Capone. He's begging him in the church, help me get Capone. You're the only honest cop I know that I can trust. And his response was, what are you prepared to do? Are you prepared to take out 6 of his guys if they take out 3 of yours? And forgive my bad impression, but what are you prepared to do? Are you willing to do the necessary behaviors to really prospect? There's a lot of people that can be good in sales. They can go do presentations. I'm a professional presenter. I can demonstrate, I can pitch. That's easy sometimes being a demonstrator. What's hard is doing the necessary work up front, the prospecting to become a really good salesperson. So what are you prepared to do? And I want you to keeping track of things. What are you trying to do? Giving out business cards, networking, all these things I've talked about that don't cost a lot of money. Keep track of them. How many cards did you give out? What did you actually do? How many hours did you spend prospecting? Because nothing works unless you do. Keep a daily, weekly behavioral activity log. Because I used to show people when I had my agency and had about 80 people and I hired over 900 people over a period of time. But I used to hire people and I'd sit there and say to them, look, if you're going to sit there and say that you want 10 appointments, all right, how long's an appointment? Okay, well, that's 20 hours, 22 hours of appointment. By the time I take drive times, go to the appointment, make the presentation, for every appointment, you got to book about 2 hours. Well, all right, so there's 20. How many hours are you going to work a week? Well, most people even say more than 40. Well, I'm going to work 50. Okay, so now we got 30, even if you're going to work 50. And if we did get all these appointments, there's your 20 hours right there. You got 30 hours left. All right, now you got to figure how many hours you're going to spend sharpening your axe, even getting better at your sales skills. Are you actually out there reading a book, going to a seminar, watching me online, whatever it is? Let's say you spend 4 hours a week, and the average top of the line salesperson says they spend 4.3 hours. So are you going to spend that much time actually getting better at your skills? How much administrative work do you have? Just filling out paperwork and doing your order forms and doing things like your travel expense reports. How much time going to company meetings? Well, now you're down to another 10 hours eaten up there. So now you sit there and say, okay, I really only have 10 hours of prospecting time left. And that's the most important activity in the week is that prospecting. And unfortunately, what we do is we do all these other things and then we wait to prospect. Prospecting should be job one. Prospecting should be the first thing. Keep track of it. So at the end of the week, if you didn't have the appointment you wanted, I bet you can look back and say, because you didn't spend the time doing what you needed to do prospecting wise. And keep three things in mind. All right. Keep score. I mean, how much is this working as far as the objectives you've accomplished? Is it working? Keep positive. Remember, attitude is your choice, but it's controlled by your behaviors. If you do all the behaviors, you do all the things you said you were going to do, even if you didn't make a sale this week, how do you feel? See, your behaviors, your feelings, your behaviors control your feelings, not the other way around. And keep going. Anything of value takes time to accomplish. I was a terrible salesperson at first before I went through some sales training and got better. Matter of fact, August 3rd, 1992, my boss was going to fire me. Called in his office and says, "Hey, Wayne, you haven't done anything. We're about ready to fire you." And then he said, "You have to go to the sales training on the Saturday." And my whole life changed when I went through sales training. But had I quit right then, I would not have accomplished the things that I did. And within that first 3 months, from August to the end of the year, I was the number one rookie of the year in a 3 month period of time. And next year, I was the number one rep nationwide. And then I started doing better and better. But it took time to get better at my skills, both prospecting, presentation, closing. All three of those, as we started this presentation, take a lot of time to develop. So I hope that you've learned something from this situation, from the training that we do today. Again, if there's more things you want, go to my YouTube channel and you can see more of the different trainings that I do. If you have any specific needs, give me a call directly at 970-286-5665 or email me at Wayne, W-A-Y-N-E, okay, at 3D Pro dot services, 3D Pro dot services. And I'll be glad to answer all of your questions individually. So again, thanks for watching this week. Next week will be same time, Thursday at 2. I've sent out the agendas to people what's on the curriculum, and we'll continue. But happy sailing.